Today, we're diving into one of the wildest stories in all of medical history. We're talking about Adam Rayner, a man whose life just doesn't seem possible. Let's get right into it. So, this is the big question, right? How can one person be both a dwarf and a giant in a single lifetime? It sounds completely made up, a total paradox. But for one man, this was his reality. I mean, think about it. How on earth does a human body go from one extreme to the complete opposite? And this really just lays it all out. In his youth, Adam Rayner was officially classified as a dwarf. But then, as an adult, he became a giant. So we're going to unpack exactly how something this unbelievable could actually happen.
All right, so to really get this, we have to start at the beginning. Before he was a giant, he was a dwarf. His story really kicks off during World War I, where his height, or lack of it, pretty much defined his entire early life.
So get this, it's 1917. He's 18 years old, and he tries to enlist in the Austro-Hungarian army. He gets measured, and he's just over 122 centimeters, or about 4 feet tall. 4 feet. As you can imagine, he was immediately turned away. Too short, too frail for service.
But here's where it gets interesting. Even back then, there was this tiny, overlooked clue. The doctors noticed something strange. For a man his size, his hands and feet were, well, they were huge, disproportionately large. It was like a little warning sign of the absolute chaos that was about to unfold.
And then, in his early 20s, everything changed. Suddenly, that weird detail about his hands and feet started to make a whole lot of sense. Adam Rayner began to grow. And he just didn't stop.
I mean, just look at these numbers. It is absolutely staggering. At 18, he's barely 4 feet tall. 14 years later, at 32, he shot up to over 7 feet tall. He almost doubled his height. Can you even imagine that?
It's the speed of it all that's just mind-blowing. This wasn't some late growth spurt. No, this was an explosive, unstoppable surge that launched him from one end of the height chart to the complete other. So the big question is, what was going on inside his body to cause this? Well, for a while, doctors had no idea. They were completely stumped. But eventually, they figured it out. And the answer, it turns out, was hiding in this tiny but incredibly powerful gland at the base of his brain.
The culprit was something called the pituitary adenoma. Now you have to remember, this is a time when the study of hormones was still pretty new. Basically, a benign, meaning non-cancerous tumor grew on his pituitary gland. You can think of that gland as the body's master control panel. And this tumor just made it go haywire, like a switch got stuck in the on position, flooding his body with a tidal wave of growth hormone.
So it's a pretty simple but totally devastating chain reaction. Step 1, the tumor develops. Step 2, the gland goes nuts and just dumps growth hormone into his system. And step 3, his body is forced to just keep growing and growing and growing.
Okay, so this is what makes Adam Rayner's story literally one for the record books. The timing of this tumor created a perfect storm. He ended up with 2 different conditions at once. First, gigantism. That's because the hormone flood started while his bones were still able to grow longer, so he shot up in height. But it didn't stop there. He also developed acromegaly because the hormones kept coming along into his adulthood. This is what caused his facial features, hands and feet to become thick and distorted, and it explains that weird clue from his army physical all those years ago.
But you know, this incredible growth, it came at a horrible cost. His body just wasn't built for this. It wasn't designed to handle such a massive, rapid change, and it started to break down under the immense strain. The health problems were just brutal. His spine started to curve, really curve, because it couldn't keep up with the weight. The tumor itself was pressing on his nerves, causing him to go blind in one eye and deaf in one ear. It was like his own body had turned against him. So in 1930, a couple doctors decided to try a really risky surgery to get the tumor out. And it was partially successful. They managed to slow down the growth, but it was too little too late. The damage was done, and there was no going back. In this chart, wow, it really just sums up his whole incredible, tragic life. You can see it right there. A dwarf at 18, standing just 4 feet tall. A giant by 32, at over 7 feet. And then at his death, he was 7'8", but by that point, he was bedridden, his body completely broke. Yeah, his final decade was spent in a care home. His skeleton just gave up. He couldn't walk, couldn't even stand. The very thing that made him a medical phenomenon, a true one of a kind. It's also what trapped him inside his own body.
And this is the bottom line. It's a powerful statement because it's true. To this day, Adam Rayner is the only person in recorded history to have been classified as both a dwarf and a giant. His story is just completely unique.
So what do we take away from a life like this? It's more than just a medical curiosity, right? It's this incredible and frankly tragic story that shows you just how delicate our bodies really are. It's a reminder of the amazing, razor-thin balance that keeps us all going, and what can happen when that balance is completely thrown off.